Hello, dear friends and my students. Um, as promised, I'm making a video. I hope it'll be short. It'll be as long as required. That will give you a reasonable review of the grammar items that we've discussed or that I've posted information for. Study it to your heart's delight, or go off the best of your intuition. So what we have to discuss are four grammar things are the major errors. Subject-verb agreement or disagreement is the error, which means that usually you don't put an S or an ES on a verb form that needs it because the subject is a he, a she, or an it, or, a male, female, inanimate object, car, or something like that. Or you put an S or an ES where it shouldn't be, like, because it's a plural, like they was or they is. And they is crazy. Most people don't say that. That would be an example. So that's all you really need to know for subject-verb agreement is in present tense, things that occur now or that repeatedly occur, the S or ES rule. So you have to determine, the rule is you got to determine what your subject is, what's doing something or being something, and then you can look at the verb and determine whether it has the S or ES. It's the simplest rule. Again, I'm not, this class is not about teaching you, the ins and outs of grammar. It's just to get these basic things down. Next, we went on to fragments and run-ons, which are basically two sentence boundary, boundaries are what you're supposed to stay inside of. So boundary error has to do with making sure that what's inside of these sentence boundaries, which are a capital letter and an end punctuation, an end punctuation being a period usually, or an exclamation point, sometimes a question. Advisable not to use a whole lot of questions in academic writing. You're not being rhetorical. You're not being, funny or teasing or anything like that in most academic writing. Also advisable to rarely, if ever, use exclamation points because by definition, academic writing, college writing wants to be even and smooth and controlled. And I mean, you can't rile me up, but if I yelled at you, that's like, oh no, that's not cool for college, interaction. And that's what an exclamation point is kind of a yell at. Sometimes you might employ it for rhetorical purposes. You want to wake up your reader or whatever. So sentence boundary errors was our next thing. And I'm going to point out all these things through links in a minute. So have a sentence, you need somebody or something that's going to do or be something. So it's all these components that you got to remember. Who's doing it and what are they doing? They're like interchangeable, right? You gotta be careful. Like, well, what's my verb? Run. Well, who's doing the running? And if it's Bob, well, he runs. And then we need to make sure that we have all the ideas of a sentence, the concepts. So we have the subject verb, but is it a completed idea? So if I say, because Bob runs, period, well, that wouldn't be a sentence, that would be a fragment. The other side of it is if you have too much stuff inside of your boundaries, you'd have Bob runs a lot, no punctuation, just continues. He is in great shape. That would be a fused sentence. Bob runs a lot, comma, he's in great shape. It's a comma splice. Comma splices are bad. Sentences end with punctuation. That's an end punctuation, periods, or one of the other two. Or you can connect it. All the websites that I have will show you ways to connect them A common way of connecting them is with the fanboys for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. So if you have two sentences, figure out what the logic of the sentence is. Like, is it a cause effect? Like, he eats too much, so he got fat. Makes sense. He eats too little, so he lost a lot of weight. So the so takes those two sentences in that particular example and provides a connection. And then we get rid of our, and that it run on our comma splice, whatever it would be. And then finally, we have verb form errors, which are, we're not really going into great depth with verb form errors because it's too wide of a scope. I mean, we could spend days on it. But I narrowed it down to a list of a few that are common. I told you about go, and I told you about see. So I had went, no good. I had gone. I seen you, or you seen me, or we seen each other, whatever, no good. We have seen each other on lots of occasions. It's a tense thing. It requires that it happen in time, some kind of way. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and start showing you some of the review materials. I'm going to pause this recording for a second, so if there's a jump, don't worry about it. And here we go. Sharing screen. So inside of our modules, basically, if we go back to our subject-verb agreement, now remember I've relocated everything so that our modules or your front page begins with the modules and at the very thing that we're doing right now. So I'm scrolling down to find the stuff about subject-verb agreement. So if you review that, that's not there, it's down here. Sorry, the practice quiz or the actual quiz, which is right there, the real quiz. You'll find information about the S or the ES rule. And remember, if it's plural, it can't be an S or an ES. Any of those phrases like along with, including, whatever, if they happen after your subject, don't include them. So if your subject is singular, the man, along with all his dogs, still the man, has, you know, a cold, whatever. And onto our, I promise to open, we have to go all the way back up to our practice quiz here. This is the quiz that you all took most recently on fragments and run-ons. We're going to look at it. Let's see how well we can do. Let me get my grammar muscles on. Reloading. Take a sip of my Monster. Zero sugar. All right. So which of the following contains a comma splice or a fuse sentence? They're both the same kind of error. One has a comma in between two sentences. One has nothing in between two sentences. Charles searched all over the store. That's a sentence. We could put a period there. Low-fat cream was nowhere. We have a subject and a verb to be found. So we know that's a comma splice. We have a comma in between two sentences. Next one, he finally decided to call his wife for help. She didn't answer. 2 sentences. She didn't answer is a whole new sentence. So in this case, this one's a few sentence, 2 sentences with nothing in between. So we would have to select both. Which of the following contains comma splice or a few sentence? He had an amazing voice, but was terrible. Now we have clause, but it's not a new sentence. It's not anything new. It's still connected to he, but was terrible at remembering the lyrics of his songs. It's a long sentence, but it is a sentence, one sentence. Because he never corrected this flaw, that's not a sentence. It needs something. His music career never went very far. So now we have neither. Same question. My family spends a lot of time at the beach, whatever. I'm not going to read the real thing, Timpson Beach, whatever. It is very easy to get to from where we live. 2 sentences, a period in between. Great. That's how sentences work. Because Timpson Beach is so accessible for us, comma, that's a piece of a sentence, connects to that one. So we have another neither. Most people do not like to watch tennis because they do not understand the level of strategy, skill, and athleticism involved in professional matches. Long sentence, but one piece that has to go with, that can't stand by itself, it has to go with the other one. So this is a sentence, and then we have a sentence, but we have that because. Remember that one, get the fragments. So no, we don't want to select that one. Most people do not like to watch tennis. End of a sentence. We didn't put the because there. So now we have a whole new sentence. So we have to select that one. Go away. And so now I'm going to scroll down to the fragment part. Well, let's go to fragments first, which contains a sentence fragment, meaning not a sentence. Well, we've talked about this before. We could jump ahead. You see this, a period there and a because? Well, you look at it and you go, hey, that doesn't get to a comma and it doesn't get to a new sentence or an independent clause. Boom. We know that one's a fragment. Sometimes I watch too much television. I told you, if a sentence begins with which and it doesn't end in a question mark, it's a fragment. So now we have both. Many people believe that Barack Obama is Muslim. He's not. 2 sentences. It's good. Many people believe that Barack Obama is Muslim. Not true. Not true is not a sentence. So it would be that one. One thing to point out about this one is if you were writing that, it would probably be okay because you're doing it for a rhetorical purpose. And even though it's not a sentence, if you don't do it too much, it would probably be okay. I'm just going to skip around a little bit. Some events really change the course of history, but not always in the way that are clear. Since this part right here is not a sentence, it has to be connected to the previous one. So that's okay. History is complicated. It's a short sentence, but it's okay. We already said that not always in ways that are clear is not a sentence. So we know that we have a fragment. That's a fragment right there. We'll do one more fragment. I already did that one like it. All right, so this one's good because these lights keep going on me. Sorry about that. Charles thought he would do something nice for his wife. Now, there's nothing wrong with starting a sentence with one of the fanboys, and so down here works because we have a he. We repeat a subject. Up here, we don't repeat a subject. We say and stop right to our verb. So this can't be a clause. It can't stand by itself. So this is a fragment. this part that's highlighted. Now, if we go back up here to help you out, we're looking for whatever might be happening. So we're going to read the passage together. Several bicyclists have been struck recently by a truck described as a dark blue newer model with large tires without a license plate number. Police have been unable to identify the truck so that they can capture the culprit. What we have is a lot of information there, but right here, we have two sentences that meet up and shake hands with a comma. We call that a comma splice. No good, so we would have to select this one, comma splice after number. So that's a basic review of the grammar regarding fragments and run-ons. If we go back and we look at our verb form exercises, I'll remind you what we're looking for. If you have a form of to have, repeat after me. Forms of to have are have, has, and had. So I have a dog, you have a dog, she has a dog, I once had a dog, I have always had a dog. So those are all tense things, but those are forms of to have. If you have a form of to have in front of your verb, it needs to be from the third column of words. So in a regular verb, regular verbs end in D or ED in the past tense. I walk, yesterday I walked. I type, yesterday I typed. But I drink my Monster. Yesterday I drank a Monster. Now we're irregular verbs. Didn't add a D or an ED. I sip, regular. We get an ED. It's a spelling rule that you double the final consonant when you have consonant, vowel, consonant, like SIP. So the P is really part of a spelling rule. But that's a regular verb. I sip, I sipped. I drink, I drank. I think, I thought. I bring, I brought. I brang. No such thing as brang. So whenever you have a third column, whenever you have a have, has, or had, you need that third column word. Sometimes they're the same as the past tense. So, for example, thought, think, thought, thought. I think about philosophy a lot. Yesterday, I thought about Aristotle. I have thought about Plato many times. So it's a time orientation. So if we look down, I'm scrolling down to my verb forms right here. Right? If we click on that, that's my list of the verb forms. Taken from, I'll show you the other link, but it's not actually taken from, but it's parallel to, it's similar to the link that I'll show you. So these are just a list to go over to make sure you understand how these verb form works. It's not an exhaustive list. Exhaustive means it doesn't complete it. There's a bunch of verbs. I don't even know how many verbs we have in the language, but a lot. So just as an example, you see put is an irregular verb. So you don't put a D or an ED. So if you hear a little kid say, put it, I put it in my closet, that's incorrect. Put is the past tense of put. And that third column that would follow have or has or had would be put. The ing words, as I told some of my classes, follow the to be form of the verb, and it's called progressive. It's how we state that something's in progress, progressive, in progress. So I am sipping my drink. I am typing. I am writing. Or it could be past tense. I was writing. In past tense, it usually suggests something that was interrupted. I was sleeping when you woke me up. So past tense, something was happening when something else happened. You don't really need to know that for right now. Mostly just the third column. Past participles, which are that third column of verbs, like sat, seen. So those are the things for you to study. Is not really a good word. It's more like go over and see if you get it and you know it. Say it in your, say it in a sentence for yourself. I had found. If you said anything else but besides found, well, focus on that and remember. Yesterday I found something. That's probably not one of the more common ones, but here's one that's not on the list, and maybe it'll give you an indication of how this works. LEAD is, I don't have a lead pencil, but let's pretend this is made of lead. It's not, I think it's aluminum, but let's pretend it's made of lead. That's LEAD, right? To lead somebody is spelled LEAD. The past tense of to lead somebody or something is led, which sounds like what this is made of, LEAD, but it's spelled LED. I led, LED, my horse to water. He drank the water and swallowed some lead, LEAD. I hope that doesn't confuse you, but that's a commonly misspelled one, I guess. I'm not sure what the error is. And so likewise, the past participle, the third column would be led, LED. I have led my horse to water many times. The tense thing. I don't know what beep that was, but so I'm going to start to wrap up now. I'm going to close by pointing out that we are moving on to our first essay. And you need to be thinking about how you feel about technology. If you could see my Zoom screen, it's going really slowly. I'm moving like this. I hope it's not recording like that. Just now I was like this. That's technology for you. I hope it doesn't record that way for you all. But you need to be thinking about how you feel about technology. Essay writing, academic writing is all about thinking hard and different. Think outside of the way you normally think about it. There's this joke on TikTok that is a technology joke. It's, I don't know what they call it, a trend, whatever. And the idea is that you're waiting in the parking lot and your honey, your spouse, your mate, your girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever it is, gets in the car. But right before they get in the car, you're like this on the phone. Oh, my girlfriend's here. I gotta go. And then it starts a fight. Like, who are you on the phone with? And it's using technology, the idea of technology. How many people have gotten divorced probably from somebody checking somebody else's phone and their text messages? Technology and how it affects us, our relationships. So that's what you need to be kind of thinking about. And if you want to jump ahead, go ahead and read your article. It's one of these four. 1, 2, 3, 4. You're going to read one of those. You're going to write a summary for it next Thursday. This article here, this link, I'm sorry, is the same article as this one. So they're not two separate ones. That's it for my meeting for today, my review. Review all the links that I have for you if you want sort of reinforcement. I'm pretty smart. I know all this stuff already. I'm not patting myself too much, but what I'm telling you is real and true. And if you all you really need to know is what I'm telling you for the test taking purposes. But if you want to have sort of, reinforcement to it, go ahead and look at some of the links. There's a PowerPoint. I don't know if it's a PowerPoint, but it's a slide presentation about sentence fragments. It's very simple and straightforward. And have a good weekend, and I'll see you next week. Adios, amigos and amigas y amigas.